Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the premier radio networks, including 160 of the best stations in the U.S. and Canada, on Sunday, July 17th, 2011. This is episode 788. Enjoy. Well, a good day to you. How are you today? Leo Laporte here. I'm a little gravelly, aren't I? The Tech Guy. And it's time to talk about computers, the internet, cell phones, camcorders, MP3 players, all the digital madness that infests our world. I have a little cold, so I apologize. I feel fine. I sound a little gravelly, so I apologize for that. If you want to participate in the show, I'd love it if you'd call me. We could talk about all this digital stuff. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my number. 8888 Ask Leo. The website is techguylabs.com. That's probably the best thing to jot down or remember, techguylabs.com, because there's a link there to the phone number. You can see the phone number right on the front page there, our chat room, the live video stream, the show notes. It's all there. 788 shows worth of goodness. That's a lot. That's a lot of shows. I've actually been doing this now for 20 years. At some point, and I don't know when it is, but at some point this year, I really should do some research, was when I started doing technology talk radio. Well, back then it was computer talk radio in 1991. And it was Windows 3.0, and it was DOS 5, and it was a different era. And for 20 years, I've been toiling in the mines of digital technology. And boy, it has changed. Now, the cell phone you have in your pocket is 10 times more powerful, 100 times, 1,000 times more powerful than that PC on your desktop. And the internet has brought us all sorts of amazing things. And every week, there's something new and interesting and exciting. That's why I love this beat. You know, if you're a journalist, you want to pick a beat that doesn't bore you, that keeps you interested. And boy, there is no better beat than the technology beat. Nobody dies. I like that part. And yet it's important. It's changing our world. And it's always interesting, always fascinating. So I'm just having a blast covering this. I hope you enjoy it as well. And if you've been looking for a show to listen to that'll help you understand it, help you make sense of it, I think this is the show. Every weekend right here. And if there's something that's puzzling you, I'd love to hear from you. 8888 Ask Leo. So I said there was something every week. What was the big announcement this week? Well, it wasn't a new Apple operating system. I thought it would be. When I left you last week, I said, next week we'll talk about Lion and the new MacBook Airs. Nothing. And that just underscores the fact that Apple doesn't say, Apple doesn't tell, and any speculation anybody makes, including me, is pure speculation. Now, I'm going to speculate that it'll be next week. They said it'll be in July. And they haven't said anything about new hardware, but they said OS X Lion will be available in July. So that means they got 2 more weeks. But the quarterly earnings report is the 20th. So my friend Don McAllister of Screencasts Online, nice British bloke from Liverpool, he said, I think it'll be the 20th. He didn't say it like that, though. I was just very insulted. Actually, he's from Liverpool. That's a Cockney accent. He said, I think it'll be the 20th. That's probably when Apple will ship Lion. And when they ship a new operating system, they don't always, Microsoft, the way Windows works, usually you don't upgrade Windows until there's a new computer. That's how you upgrade. On the Mac side, they have a new version of their operating system almost every year. Contrast that with every 3 to 5 years for Microsoft. Almost every year. And it is very normal in the Apple world to just upgrade your operating system every year. And at $30 for kind of unlimited machines, why not? But I do believe, and most experts believe, that Apple will in fact ship new hardware as well with this particular update to take advantage of their new Thunderbolt connector. The MacBook Airs, which are their best-selling product right now, very hot. are running a pretty old, slow processor. There's a new Intel processor they could run that would make them faster, give them at least as good, if not better, battery life. They could put in the Thunderbolt. I think they want to put Thunderbolt in across the line. So it seems likely that a new MacBook Air will come out. Yeah, I'm thinking next week. A new Mac Pro, perhaps. Yeah, I'm thinking next week. Maybe even new Mac Minis, because those are way overdue. But we'll watch. That was not the big announcement this week. I thought it would be. It was not. I did not predict the big announcement this week, which is Spotify. Now, if you're a Brit or in France, not in Germany, right? They don't have Spotify in Germany. It's limited parts of Europe. It's been available for a couple of years. It is a music. What is it? It's a music service, and a lot of people, I think, myself included, said, "Well, we already have these all-you-can-eat music services. We have the Zune Pass. You pay, $15 a month, unlimited all the music in the Zune library. You can put it on any device, listen to it all you want. You even get Zune's kind of a nice deal because you get to own 10 songs a month. So it's like 10 songs for $10, and then $5 for the Zune Pass. That's a pretty good deal. There's Rhapsody, Mog, RDO." All of these services, Napster, all these services are roughly $10 a month, all you can eat. They're subscription services. And Apple's never done this because Apple says no, but at least Steve Jobs. When I say Apple, I mean Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs says no, everybody wants to own music. Nobody wants to rent music. And that's essentially what these services do. You pay $10 a month. You have unlimited access to their catalog, but only as long as you continue to pay the $10 a month. I've been using both Mog and RDO for some time. Love it. It works with my Sonos systems at home, so I can use my my iPhone or my Android phone or my iPad to tell the Sonos, pick something from the vast catalog and play it. You can play albums you don't own. You can find out what the top 10 songs are today. I mean, it's fantastic. So I was kind of skeptical when they said, well, here comes Spotify. I thought, well, I don't see how Spotify could be so much better that I would switch, and I did. It is. I don't know. In fact, I'd love to hear from. It's hard to get in right now. If you go to Spotify.com, you'll get the "Hello America Spotify" here front page, and they'll say sign up for an invite. Although people will have invites. If you go to gigaohm.com right now, they have 25,000 invites. They're slowly rolling. This is the thing now. And I don't know if it's for technical reasons because they don't want to kill their servers with too many new users, or, and I suspect this is the case, it's more about, word-of-mouth marketing, ginning up excitement. Oh, you can't get in. You have to get an invitation. So isn't that what nightclubs do? Put a big red velvet rope out front with a big bouncer. Sorry, man, you're not on the list. There's nobody inside. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't get in. It makes you want to get in, doesn't it? So I wonder if that's kind of what's going on here. In any event, I was able to score a invitation, and I've been playing with it for 4 or 5 days. And I have to say, I think there is something about it that's kind of cool. I'm not. It's social for one thing. So one of the nice things that happens with Spotify, I'm going to log in here so I can show you if you're watching our video stream. One of the nice things about Spotify is it's social. So the first thing you do is you attach it to your Facebook account. And when you do that, all of your Facebook friends who are on Spotify, and as it turns out quite a few of mine are, say hello, and you can see their music, you can see what they're listening, whatever they've shared. You have to share it, of course. Everybody's very sensitive about privacy. But if you say, hey, I'm going to share this playlist with my friends, these playlists show up. It will also look at all the music you have in your library, your iTunes library, and it will kind of add that to your Spotify. So you have everything you own, plus everything else that they have in their 18 million song catalog. Sound quality is quite good. Here's my friend Don McAllister. He's from the UK, so he's had it for a long time. So he's got a bunch of playlists. I can see what Don's favorite music is. Def Leppard? Really, Don? ZZ Top? Really, Don? It's kind of fun to see what kind of music people are into and listen to. Here's my friend Cédric Ingrand. He's a television presenter in France. So he's had it for a while. He's got a lot of playlists on here. Great way to find out what your friends like. Isn't that how we learn about music? Is, what's cool, what's hot? You all have a friend who knows more about music than you do, right? I'm very intrigued by this. $10 a month. It's free, though, for limited play, and if you get an invite, it's worth it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Baby, you can drive my car.
Everybody now.
And baby, I love you.
This is the end of Carmageddon celebration tune.
I told that girl that my prospects were good.
Beep, beep, and beep, beep, yeah.
Baby, it's understood.
They opened the 405 a little early, so we are on the air in Los Angeles, I believe, today. We were preempted yesterday, and everybody around the world is going, for what? Carmageddon? That's what they called it. Big, big freeway that goes right through the heart of Los Angeles, the San Diego freeway. It's kind of a main thoroughfare, the 405. They needed to take down a bridge, so they closed the 405 in L.A. for, they were going to do it for 53 hours. It ended up being about 8 hours early, I think they reopened. And it yesterday, you know, it's funny, it didn't end up being anything. It was like the Y2K thing. It was like, no big deal. Everybody stayed home. They played a little ping pong. They sat by the pool. It's fine. But of course, our mothership, KFI in Los Angeles, the big 50,000-watt blowtorch of Southern California, is a news station, and so they were covering it. So we were preempted. So hello to my friends listening on KFI today. You didn't miss anything. You didn't miss a thing. So we were playing with Spotify during the break, the chat room and I. And one of the things that's very cool, now this only doesn't work on an iPhone, but on an Android phone. One of the things I love about Android is that there's a search button on the front of the phone of all Android phones, a little magnifying glass. If you press it and hold it, a speech recognition thing pops up. And you can give it a variety of searches. You could say navigate to or send text messages, a variety of commands. Well, there's one command, the listen command. So I can press and hold that and say, listen to the Rolling Stones, Honky Tonk Woman. And not only will it then open Spotify, but it will play the song. Actually, it didn't do that because I was saying other things in addition. It doesn't work so well when you're talking on the radio, but it really is amazing. Spotify and Rdio are two applications on Android that will do that. So if you have, that's one of the reasons I love these music subscription services like Spotify. $10 a month. That's one CD a month, right? It's probably what you'd spend on music anyway. But instead of one CD, you get access to 18 million songs. It's not everything. The Beatles aren't on there. iTunes has an exclusive for them. I think some Led Zeppelin stuff is not on. There's stuff that's missing. It's not every song ever recorded. But 18 million is a pretty good selection. And you don't have to own the song. You don't have to have it on your phone. You don't have to have it in your home collection. You just have to be able to find it on Spotify or this other service, Rdio, which I also like, rdio.com. And it'll play. Good quality, too. Good streaming quality, too. I think that changes the music industry. I really do. Changes everything. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. William is in Tampa, Florida. Hi, William. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Our first call of the day. Oh, I got to push another button here. Something's going on.
I got it.
Thank you, Kyle. Hello, William. Actually, that's not the one I wanted. You picked up Leslie. I will pick up William right now. There we go. Hey, William.
Hi there. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are things in Tampa?
Very good, thank you. Hey, first, I just want to thank you for all the different shows you have on your TWiT network. I listen to a number of them regularly, and that's just a wonderful resource. And
Well, you're very kind. Thank you. Yeah, for those who don't know what he's talking about, we thought about rebranding because TWiT kind of implies, you know, an upper-class fool. But it's memorable. It stands for This Week in Tech, and we do about, 24 shows about technology. That's my day job. This is my fun job, my weekend job. But my day gig is making all of those shows. And, thank you. I'm glad you like them. We're building a new studio. In fact, this is my last Tech Guy show in the old Tech Guy Labs. We're moving down the street next Sunday, or next Saturday. Actually, no, that's not right. I take it back. This is my second to last. I will then do the show here next weekend, and at the end of that show, then I get up and move down the street. So what can I do for you, William?
I have a peer-to-peer network at my office, and there is at least one computer, but not all of them, that every day at the same time it loses its connection with the network.
Really?
And I've checked the obvious things, scheduler and things that I can think of. and I plugged that computer into a different port in the switch, and it didn't do it for a couple of days, but then it started doing it again.
That's weird. And you're wired or wireless?
Wired.
Wow.
Yep, to a D-Link switch. And
it's just that one computer?
Just that one computer. At 321, boom. The person who used that computer loses their connection on that program that we run.
Is it always the same time?
It used to be a different time. Then after I plugged it into a different port, and it didn't do it for a couple days, when it started back up again, now it's at that same time.
That is so weird. Well, now you know that the way the computer gets on the network, it's a peer. You said it. Now this is interesting. You said it's a peer-to-peer network.
I think I'm using that term correctly. All of the printers and computers plug into a 24-port switch, and the internet and everything connects through that.
Okay. So you're not assigning. I'm going to get geeky here, folks. Please hang on. You're not assigning static IP addresses to the computer. You're letting the computer get an address from the switch.
That's correct.
Okay, so it's not a peer-to-peer network.
Okay.
It's a subtle difference, but important in this case, because the way it gets its address is through something called DHCP, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, and it gets a lease. It gets the address for a certain period of time. Now, normally the lease is virtually forever. I'm wondering, one possibility is that this machine is set, for some reason, is set differently so that the lease expires every 24 hours. So I would look at your DHCP settings in the network and in the switch as well, or the router as well. Because it sounds like it's expiring the IP address. And what would happen if it did is it would go down. One way to test this is when it goes down at 3:21 in the afternoon is to refresh, to release and renew the IP address. In effect, manually saying, give me a new one. And you can do that from the command line. It's probably the easiest way to do it. There are programs that'll do it. But if you just click Start, Run, get that command line up and type ipconfig, one word, IPCONFIG. Boy, we're getting geeky here. First call of the day, and I'm already burning people's ears. ipconfig space / release. Do it again, space / renew. See if that fixes it. Skippy in our chat room saying, ow, my ears, ow! What else? Oh, what? Or you could just do, what else could be going wrong, chat room? Any other, we don't want to reboot the router every time. What we want to do is fix this. If for the release renew fixes it, then it is probably a lease issue. So also check on the router. Make sure that you have long leases. Actually, that's good. I like this. Gouchum in the chat room says, if you do the same thing, start, run, ipconfig space / all, it'll tell you what the lease times are. And you can see if that particular system is going to run out. That's my guess. And I'm sticking with it. Scott Wilkinson, our home theater expert, coming up in just a moment to talk home theater. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Scott Wilkinson on the tuba there, right?
Actually, that's not me, but it's a piece written by my father.
You're kidding.
Nope.
Was your father a famous tuba player?
No, he was actually a music educator and a sax man most of his life, but in his retirement, he developed a strong interest in tuba quartets. And so he started writing tuba quartets. He wrote over 40.
Wow.
Before he passed away.
It's actually quite beautiful. We never think of the tuba as being such a nimble, light instrument.
Exactly right.
We always think of it as papa, papa.
Exactly, a big, heavy instrument.
Tubby the tuba.
Well, I mean, you hear Tubby the tuba, right? You probably heard that.
I grew up with Tubby the tuba.
It's a great piece, and it really shows off the characteristic. You can be more than just oompa on the tuba.
Yeah.
So I thought that would be fun to play a little bit of my dad's music. That was the Dutch Tuba Quartet, who recorded one of his pieces. That's called "The Happy Soul."
Oh, it did. Which
is a klezmer tune.
It sounded happy.
He arranged for tuba quartet, and we in fact played it at his memorial service. So that was kind of cool.
Well, it's good to have you back. Scott Wilkinson is our home theater expert, editor-in-chief of the Ultimate AV Magazine, ultimateavmag.com, columnist for Home Theater Magazine, hometheatermag.com, but more importantly, the host of our great Home Theater Geeks show, which is every Monday, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern at live.twit.tv, or you can download it after the fact at twit.tv/HTG.
Yep.
Who's coming up Monday?
Oh, Monday I've got two great guests, actually, Greg Lowen and Michael Chen, both of whom are video calibrators and THX calibration course instructors who are just back from China teaching their first calibration course in China. So I think they'll have some interesting stories to tell. Another thing to be aware of this week, however, is that this will be the first show, the first Home Theater Geeks, from which I will be, that I'll be recording from a new studio myself. I figured, what the heck? You're putting together a new studio. I might as well too.
Wow. It'll be the last Home Theater Geeks that we broadcast from our old studio, the first from your new studio, and then next week
they'll both be
they'll
new.
both be our new studios.
That's right. I you know, at my video testing lab, which is a few miles away from my house, I've always had really poor internet access.
Yeah, it's time to get some good internet access.
And now we do.
Good.
I've got symmetric 5 megs up and down.
Ooh, that should be enough.
Which is plenty.
You know, we're shifting, and it won't be next week, but the following week we will be stop using Skype for our shows, and we'll start using, we'll still have Skype capability, but we'll start using a video conferencing technology called Vidyo, vidyo.com.
Oh, well, then you better get me hip to what I need.
I'll get you hip to
that.
it, man. It's easy. In fact, what'll happen is you'll get a link that you'll save that'll always be good for you, and your co-host will get a link. They just click that link. It works on all systems, Windows, Mac, Linux, and if you have a good camera, which I know you do, and I hope your guests will, we'll get a high-def video back, and it should look spectacular.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
My camera is actually standard def. It's good quality camera. But
well, we might have to get you one of them new Logitech cameras, because they have some great, inexpensive high-def cameras that we're going to send out to everybody.
I do have a flip. I don't know if that would work.
No.
Okay, all right.
No.
It is 720.
Well, 720 is fine, but I don't know if it's well, maybe it will work. I don't know if it'll work.
I don't know. We'll try it,
in real
but
time.
We'll work that out later.
We, I'll make a list. We got to send everybody new cameras.
Oh, that'd be
We're going
great.
high def, baby.
Yeah, baby.
It's about time. Don't count on me going 3D though. You know how I feel about that.
No, I know you're not going to want to go 3D.
I think I'm going to win this argument. By the way, I think 3D is already starting to decline in.
Well,
popularity.
you know what? I have to say I agree in that there are fewer 3D movies coming out now.
Hey, was Harry Potter 3D?
Yeah. And Dr. Mom in the chat room was saying she saw it, and she saw it in 2D, but other than a few scenes, just a couple of shots.
You know, the broomstick going straight for you, or Voldemort's wand poking you in the eye. I don't want that.
There wasn't that much that she felt she missed. On the other hand, she also suffers from a condition that gives her 3D sickness. So,
well, that's not good.
Of course, she's not going to want to see it, and she's not alone. A lot of people suffer from that problem. So, you may in fact be right. I have to say I enjoy it myself. I don't have this particular problem. I don't suffer from 3D sickness, and when it's done well, and I have to always make that caveat, but when it's done well, I really enjoy it.
Well, good for you.
So there you go.
No, and I think that the Avatar effect is very clear. Avatar was so well done, and people loved it so much that it really kick-started the whole thing. But there hasn't been anything subsequently that has got as much attention or has gotten people so excited. So I think that's probably part of the problem. Then, the next time James Cameron comes out with a 3D movie, maybe it'll all get going again.
Well, Ebert at the Movies, this TV show, which Roger Ebert isn't on anymore, of course, because he had a stroke and can't really talk too well, but he's got some other hosts on there, and they did a whole show a couple weeks ago on 3D. And one of the hosts made a very good point. He said, everybody thought that Avatar was, going to change movie making and everything was going to be in 3D. And he said, really, all I think it did was change the way $250 million movies were made.
Yeah.
Which made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that's the case.
And
you say that, but Panasonic, JVC, Sony, they're all selling 3D cameras. Some of them, like the Sony Bloggy, inexpensive flip-style 3D cameras. Everybody's pushing in this direction as if we all – and the problem is you make this 3D video, you can't edit it. You can't really post it very well. You have to use special software. I don't know. We'll see.
I thought you can edit it pretty easily.
You can edit it with special software, but not. What you end up doing is editing the 2D version, and then it applies. It's much more complicated. It's not ideal.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you may very well be right.
I know I'm right. I'm always right. I never am wrong because it's my show.
Well, because it's your show, and that's perfectly fine.
No, I'm often wrong, and I could easily be wrong on this. It's one of the challenges of covering technology is new stuff comes along all the time, and most of the time, new stuff is bad. In fact, I have a very good friend who shall remain nameless who has made his career just basically saying everything's bad, and the few times he's wrong, he just moves on.
You're right, but he's usually not wrong.
It's usually not wrong, so it's a safe bet. But I'm always trying to decide. Use my noggin, my experience, and my intuition, and say, is this going to be good or is this going to be bad? And sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't. It's very difficult to know.
That's true enough.
Very difficult to know. Only the users in mass can really tell us.
Yeah.
So let's before we run out of time, which we always do, answer a question from a listener.
Let's answer a question from a listener, shall we?
Yes.
I've got a question here from Craig who says, does it do any damage to an audio amplifier to run it without speakers connected?
What?
For example, a surround sound system without the rear speakers hooked up.
Oh, I see. So you're using some speakers, but just not all of them.
But just not all of them.
Yeah.
The answer, as far as I know, is that it doesn't really damage the amp because basically you're putting an infinite resistance or impedance across that speaker outlet, that speaker output. And it's expecting to see 6 or 8 ohms. And the more resistance you present to the circuit, the less it has to do. And so if you present
so it's
infinite,
happier.
It's happier, yeah. So if you give it infinite resistance or impedance, it really doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Now, even then, I still recommend, in the case of a surround sound, say a 7.1 receiver that you only have 5 speakers connected, you can go into the receiver's menu system and you can say, I don't have rear surround speakers connected. And that's always, I like to do that just for housekeeping and to be clean about it. But I really don't think it's a problem.
Good to know.
That's what I think about that.
Good answer. Now we can do a second question.
We could do a second
Shocking. It'll be a first.
Although, to tell you the truth, I did want to mention Spotify.
He wants to talk a little more. Okay, go ahead.
Oh,
we're out of time. I'm going to get you a stopwatch. Thank you, Scott Wilkinson, ultimateavmag.com. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Smurf along with me.
Who is this? Is this the Smurfs?
I don't know.
Why are they playing the Smurf song? Why? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Blame Kyle Benham, our music director here on the show.
It's coming out in 3D.
Among other things. Oh, it's going to be 3D, he says. Now that's terrifying. Just confirms my opinion that 3D is a bad idea. 3D Smurfs. So I kept Scott Wilkinson around because I thought it'd be good to talk about Netflix a little bit. Been a big brouhaha over Netflix because they announced this week. Well, I think there's 2 ways to talk about it. Many people said a price increase. And I'm not sure exactly that's what happened. I guess it is if you want to keep it is in the sense that if you want to keep exactly what you've got, it's going to cost you more.
That's right.
But in another way to describe it would be kind of a split in the way they price their service.
Right.
So they offer 2 different services, a DVD by mail service, that's what they became famous for. Mm-hmm. And then they added a couple of years ago streaming, watch instantly they call it. And all of the accounts from one disc on up had streaming kind of built in for free, or you could, as of a few months ago, get streaming for $7.99 a month just by itself. What they've decided to do, and I think this was inevitable, is split the 2 out. So if you want discs, that'll cost you what the discs have always cost you, $7.99 or more. If you want streaming, that's separate. That'll also cost you $7.99. So if you have a 3-disc subscription, you've got a $10 increase. In my case, I had a 5-disc subscription, and so it costs, I don't know, 40 or 50 bucks. What I'll probably do, and I imagine a lot of people will do this, is choose one or the other. In my case, I watch instantly. I have discs I've had for 5 months. It's just pushing me to send the discs back and say, No more discs. What do you think of it?
Well, you've summarized it very well, and it is a price increase of like 60% if you want both services, streaming and disc by mail.
Right.
And so this week's poll question on ultimateavmag.com asks this very question, which is, what will you do in response to the Netflix, I called it a rate hike?
Right.
And
I mean, it is fair to call it a rate hike. I don't think that's unfair. If you're paying more for the same thing, that's a rate hike.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people, it caused a lot of furor.
I think that's going to blow over, though.
I do too. It's just now that it happened.
It's a visceral reaction to suddenly having to pay a whole lot more for your stuff. But I think that it's still cheaper than 2 tickets to a movie.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely.
And it's still, for me, because I was paying late fees like crazy, it's still a lot cheaper than going to Blockbuster was for me.
Sure.
And a lot more convenient.
Yeah. Oh, a lot more convenient.
So if you go to ultimateavmag.com, you can vote in Scott's poll. What will you do in response to the Netflix rate hike? And you've got like 8 choices here.
I've got 8 choices. They are, I'm a subscriber and I'm going to keep both. I'm a subscriber and I'm only going to keep disc by mail, or only going to keep streaming, or dump them both.
Yeah.
And then I'm not a subscriber, but I plan to get both, or only disc by mail, or only streaming, or I'm going to stay away. And I found it very interesting that I'm a subscriber and I'm going to keep only disc by mail and only streaming are pretty evenly split. There's a little bit more. There's 25% of the voters so far have said disc by mail only, and 22% have said only streaming. Now, remember, this is ultimateavmag.com, so people are more interested in the ultimate in quality, and streaming is not as high quality as certainly Blu-ray.
But it's what I like because it's instant.
Because it's instant.
Yeah.
And here
I live with it. It's HD. 720p is all right.
And what about the sound? What about the audio?
You know, I didn't. You're a big sound guy, so maybe you would notice. I don't hear anything. Oh, you mean it doesn't have the surround?
It doesn't have surround. It's only
I only have 2 speakers. So.
Well, then you'd have no problem.
I'm very happy with it. And I think $7.99 a month for unlimited streaming. I'm sorry, that's a deal. I know it's not all the movies you want.
Then that's the other issue, is that there are a lot of holes. Some people think there are bigger holes than other people think.
Yeah, it kind of depends what you watch.
Depends on what you want.
But I watched last night, or the night before last, I watched The Fighter. I'd missed it. It won Academy Awards. I really wanted to see it. I didn't get to see it in the theaters. I was very surprised to see it on the Watch Instantly list. I didn't have to get a disc. And so I'm sitting in thinking, what am I going to watch? And I love browsing through this list because there are a lot of things in there.
There are a lot of things in there.
And there's this, Star Trek. They're always adding stuff. Mm-hmm. And I found The Fighter. I said, wow, okay, I'll watch that. And it was fine with me. Now, I think there are going to be lots of other issues coming down the road. For instance, Comcast hates this. 30 to 40% of all primetime internet traffic now is Netflix streaming.
Really?
Yes.
Of all internet
yes.
traffic?
And I notice in my neighborhood, I'm actually switching away from Comcast because in my neighborhood it slows down after 7 p.m. 7 to 10 p.m. everybody's watching movies in my neighborhood. So I get terrible bandwidth. So I'm switching to a DSL product that doesn't have that same problem. That's the difference, kind of mostly the big difference in cable and DSL is cable has a certain amount of bandwidth to your neighborhood.
Right.
That's shared. DSL, it's all goes back to the central office and the phone company.
But DSL depends on how far away you are physically.
Well, that's true, and I'm 6,000 feet. I'm pretty far, but I'm getting a special ADSL 2 Plus. That will give me plenty.
You're probably
bandwidth.
Paying for it too.
Yeah, $70 a month.
Yeah, well.
But I get 2 phone lines. It's It's all very complicated nowadays. It's really a shame.
It's true.
It's really a shame. So, all told.
Yeah.
I think this is very interesting. I think ultimately people will calm down. Of course, it's a price hike, but they'll look at it and they'll say, well, it's still one of the best deals there is for movies, I think.
And it's the age-old question of convenience or ultimate quality. And
I'm opting for convenience.
You're opting for convenience.
But
a lot of people are.
I may keep a 1 or 2. I don't need the 5 disc. I might keep 1 or 2 discs. What it's going to do is force me to think about how much I'm spending on Netflix.
Yes, exactly right.
Well, now, I'm glad you brought it up because I think it is a very hot topic right now. People are.
It is. Just a story just broke this week.
Yeah. I wonder. Now, here's my question for you: how much of this had to do with the pressure from the movie industry?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean,
don't you think? I'll tell you. I know Netflix is under a lot of pressure. For instance, they do not get discs for rent for 30 days in most cases, until after they've been selling in the stores for 30 days. This is the movie industry trying to sell them before you can pirate them.
Right.
They are restricted in many ways, and for instance, they often can't buy as many copies as they would like. So sometimes you'll want a popular movie, and you'll have to wait because they don't have as many copies. And that's
I didn't realize that either.
Yeah, the movie industry won't let them have them. They'll limit the number of copies. So I think streaming is something the movie industry likes because it eliminates the piracy issue.
Yeah.
Number of copies is no longer an issue.
It reduces it anyway because...
it's pretty hard to copy a streaming movie.
Well, yeah, but I don't believe
I guess you
in
could point
any
your
unbreakable
camcorder
copy
at it.
protection.
No, you
no
point your
such thing.
camcorder at it and record it.
Right. And no one is going to police you and take you out of the theater for doing that.
But I do think we're going to see. So I think the movie industry's happy with this. I think Netflix probably does want to push people towards streaming. It's still
They do.
an
Absolutely.
incredible deal.
No question.
And you pay a higher price for discs because, frankly, that's a more realistic price for the discs.
Sure. I mean, the mailing and and all
It's
that
expensive.
stuff. And it's expensive.
Not
Streaming
to mention the
is
fact
cheap.
that to do that, they have to do business in states that are now charging sales tax and demanding they collect sales tax. So all of this gets much more complicated. You know, that happened in California. Amazon, in fact, stopped paying affiliate fees because in California just a couple of weeks ago because the state of California said, well, now you have to collect sales tax because you're doing business in the state.
Wow.
So there's a whole lot of stuff going on. I think it's a complicated issue.
It's very complicated. Now, Rob Sabin, the editor of Home Theater, wrote a great blog on the subject on hometheater.com, in which he basically recommends for our readers who are, again, more interested in probably quality than convenience, stick with Blu-ray download.
Well, remember, Netflix started charging $1 more a month for Blu-ray just a few.
And now it's $2 more.
Yeah. So that's another thing. They started. They increased the cost for Blu-ray. But if you want quality, I don't think it's such a high price to pay for the best quality. If that's what you care about.
If that's what you care about.
I couldn't care less. I'm half blind and deaf, so it looks fine to me. I'm sitting there and watching the fuzzy video, going, "That's great." I think the real problem is going to be when internet service providers start to clamp down on people.
This was the other point I wanted to make. Yeah. Exactly right. Is internet caps.
Huge problem.
Huge problem, and it's going to get worse.
That's, again, why I switched off Comcast. They have caps. My DSL provider does not. They say, watch all you want, we'll make more. Scott Wilkinson, editor-in-chief of the Ultimate AV Magazine. I'm glad we could have a little extended conversation with you. UltimateAVMag.com if you want to know more. Vote in his poll. Home Theater Mag if you want to read his great reviews and columns. He just knows all. And join him tomorrow, 1:30 Pacific, 4:30 Eastern.
We're going to get video geeky, totally video geeky.
To get video geeky. It's called Home Theater Geek, so that's appropriate.
After all.
Thank you, Scott.
My pleasure. Thanks,
We'll talk again next week. Scott Wilkinson, everybody. The geek, the king of home theater geeks. He's the original. My phone number, we're going to get back to the phones in just a second. 8888 Ask Leo, 888-827-5536. That's toll-free from anywhere in the U.S. Please do call in. If you're outside the U.S., we had callers from Scotland and London yesterday. You can use Skype to call. We welcome those international callers. 888-827-5536. Your call's next when we come back. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, hey, how are you? Good to see you. Welcome. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. We survived Carmageddon. And now we're back on the air. We have a station in Los Angeles, our big station, our mothership, KFI, preempted us for the closing of the 405, but I understand we're back on the air. Everybody survived. It actually was kind of a dud, wasn't it? Everybody just enjoyed a nice weekend with no traffic. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the phone number if you want to talk about technology. 888-827-5536. I have been, it's funny. I haven't taken a test. When's the last time I took a test? Must 20 or 30 years ago. I took a test on Friday, and I was so nervous. It was a 35-question test to become an amateur radio operator. And I passed, so now I'm waiting to get my call sign so I can join the fraternity of hams. I know some of you are saying, Leo, you've been a ham for 30 years. What are you talking about? Well, now I have a piece of paper that proves it. So it's kind of fun. I really enjoyed it, and I highly encourage anybody who's interested in this. What a great hobby. If you're kind of technically inclined, certainly it's a lot of analog radio stuff, and I'm a radio guy for 35 years, so I love that. But there's also nowadays a lot of digital, a lot of interesting computer stuff, and a lot of the technology that we live with every day, like cell phones, came from packet radio, was created and invented by hams, perfected by hams. So really, in a way, we're all hams. That cell phone is a ham devised device. 8888 Ask Leo. And a lot of hams I know in our chat room, so hello to all of you. Let's get back to the phones. Leslie, Washington, D.C. Hi, Leslie. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo.
Welcome to the show.
Love your show.
Thank you.
I listen to it all the time on my podcast.
Oh, bless you. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's a great show. Everybody thinks I know you. I'm always saying, well, Leo says. Leo. Yeah.
That is
Leo.
a phrase that is much hated in many households across the country. Well,
Not
Leo
mine.
says. Good. Well, I'm glad to see it.
I am wondering, I'm trying to be both frugal and earth-friendly.
Yeah.
And my iMac, I have a MacBook and an iMac, but we'll talk about the iMac because that's the main one. I'd like to be able to put it into the sleep mode and have it wake up automatically if someone sends me a message, an email or a GChat, or I also have the Google phone. I mean, is there any way to set it so that it'll wake up when someone is trying to get in touch with me?
No, because unfortunately, in order for it to get email, for instance, it actually has to be awake. Mm-hmm. So the email thing, it has to be awake. When it's asleep, it's not doing anything.
Yeah.
When it's asleep, it can't receive anything. It can't. Now there is a feature on some PCs. I'm trying to remember if it's on Macs. I'm going to have to look. Called Wake on LAN, but it won't help you. It will only wake up the machine if there's activity on the local network. Right. And of course, you're talking about internet activity. So
yeah. I mean, the computers are being used so much as a device for communicating now. And if you have
I agree. They're talk boxes, aren't they? They're like your phone.
Yeah.
So I think what you do is that's a really interesting question. You're right. It will use a lot less power when it's sleeping.
Yeah. I mean, it just seems like if there was some way, even if you could put it into a different mode that wasn't quite asleep,
right,
but was just awake enough that you could actually be alerted to the fact that someone's trying to get in touch with you for, on whatever means they use.
Yeah, because what you really would like it to do, well, certainly one thing you do is have the monitor go off.
Yes,
that's a big use of power. So that's one of the power settings. You just say, let the monitor go to sleep very quickly before the system goes to sleep.
Yeah. Well, it's an idea for somebody to invent.
It is. It is. What you could do is have a device that's separate from your Mac, a low-power device that would check your email, would watch for your chat messages, and when it got one, send over the network a message to the Mac to wake. That's called Wake on LAN, and the Mac would wake up, but then it would have to go out and get the email and the message, and so... that's why a lot of people use use smartphones, to be honest.
On Verizon, I'm taking your advice and waiting for the next generation, and I'm, keep, just counting the minutes until they come out with the new one, because, I have not a smartphone now.
I think September we're going to see newish iPhones, and by the way, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, this is all speculation. Nobody knows what Apple's going to do because Apple doesn't say. The speculation now is that there will be some sort of refresh on the iPhone in September, but it will be more like an iPhone 4S. It will be a slightly updated iPhone, and really the new iPhone will be not again till June.
Yeah. Well, I want to, if I can make one quick comment about cell phones before I let you go. One of the things that I think really is missing from most of the reviews and most of the people and websites, whatever, that rate these things is how well they actually work. There's a lot of talk.
You mean
about
as phones? You mean as phones?
Yes, as phones.
No, what do you mean? This is a phone?
Yeah, right, exactly. But not just as a phone. I mean, for instance, I have an LG Touch. I don't know if you remember. I mean, LG. It was an old, it's several years old now.
Yeah.
And it's terrible, the way the interface works. And
I know. In fact, until the smartphones came out, iPhone really changed everything. These phones were unusable. I agree.
Yeah.
User interface design was a very, very low priority for phone manufacturers until Apple came along and said, no, people want something they can use.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a matter of what I want to use it for. It's a matter of whether it works when I try to use it.
Yeah, no, I agree. So you don't have an iPhone. You have an old phone right now. You have that old LG?
Yes.
One thing you might consider, Leslie, and this would kind of solve these two problems, is get an iPod Touch, just as an interim device.
I do have an iPod.
Oh, okay, because that will do the things if you set it up over the Wi-Fi. It will get the email. It'll do the chat in a low-power state. And it can be your kind of internet alert device that you have around with you, and that way the computer can go to sleep, and you can use the iPod Touch as your kind of communications device.
Yeah, I do that, but of course the iPod Touch works on a battery, and if it's it's looking all the time for stuff. The battery doesn't last very
of course,
long.
but it's sipping power compared to the computer.
Yeah.
So what I do with my iPod and my iPhone and all of these devices is when I go to bed I charge them. I mean, it's just I know I'm not going to get more than a day.
Yeah.
That's another thing we got used to with the older cell phones. Oh, they'd go a week without charging. No, every night charge everything. In fact, I got there's a guy that does a podcast called The Wood Whisperer, Mark Spagnuolo, and he made me a beautiful wood device charging cabinet. That's designed. It's a beautiful cabinet. You have all of your power dongles in the cabinet, and when you go to bed at night, you just put everything in there and charge it all up. You get up in the morning, you open the cabinet, it's all charged up. I mean, that's what we just have to get used to doing now.
Well, I can't wait till they do it magnetically, and then you just set everything down.
Yeah, well, we know how to do that now. The Palm Pre did that. There are companies that make third-party power pads that you can do that with, and I think the rumor is that the next iPhone will in fact have this inductance charging. That would be great, wouldn't it? Then you you just kind of throw it on a mat, and it all charges up.
Yeah, that'd be neat.
Thanks, Leslie. Good to talk to you.
Well, thanks. Feel better.
Thank you. Yeah, I got a little bit of a cold. You can probably tell, a little gravelly today. A lot of phones now are going to start doing inductive charging. And who is the company that it's called? The Power Mat, something like that. You buy it. You have to. This is why it doesn't work very well. You have to change the back on your phone so that the phone can have this inductance charging capability. It'd be nice if all the new stuff just did it. It's kind of ungainly because you get a big lump on the back of your phone. I suspect new phones will. Somebody's just saying the Droid 3 does do that. The rumor is the new iPhones will. I'm sure there'll be a lot of... that's the way to do it. Then you don't have to plug it in. You just throw it on the mat. Next morning, get up, you pick it up. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. Your call's next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. I'm trying to figure out, Kyle Benham, why are we playing this song? Every song Kyle plays, there's a secret message.
This is a stretch. Going until it sleeps.
It's called Until It Sleeps. Oh, it's for Leslie's computer that doesn't sleep. A little Metallica. For those of you, I get it. Wow. Kyle Benham may have the most... Kyle, you should be using Spotify. The most sophisticated musical knowledge until it sleeps, of course. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. Russ is in San Francisco listening on the great KGO. Hello, Russ.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
All pretty good. Hey, Leo, I bought a Panasonic VT30, the new one.
Nice TV.
Yeah, I bought it at your recommendation. Last year you were talking about them.
Well, it's really not me. It's Scott Wilkinson, our home theater guy. He loves a VT30.
Yeah, and I don't watch 3D, but I wanted the TV. The TV works great.
Good.
I'm having problems with the DLNA, and I've been in contact with Panasonic, and what it won't do is it doesn't play. I'm using a Windows 7 media server, and it won't play my iPhone videos very well or MPEG-2 videos. And right next to it, I have a Blu-ray 3D player, a BD570, that has Wi-Fi, and it plays those files just fine.
So DLNA is the ability to, and some phones have it, some computers have it, to play over your Wi-Fi into the TV. If the TV supports it, it's kind of like Apple's AirPlay technology, where it lets you play from a device directly to the TV without a connection.
Right, and the specs on the TV says that it will play these files, but when I go to play my iPhone files, it plays it for like it plays it for 5 seconds, and it stops for a tenth of a second, then it'll play and it stops. And then with MPEG-2 files, it kind of like tiles and then stops.
Yeah.
Well, I have a good signal. The Wi-Fi signal is 5 bars on the Panasonic TV.
Yeah.
The Blu-ray player plays the Wi-Fi just fine. I can stream Netflix movies on the Panasonic, with my Wi-Fi system, no problem at all. So after being on the phone with Panasonic over a week's period for over 3.5 hours, they finally agreed to send a local technician out here.
I don't think that's going to make any difference. I think what's really going on, it's a bandwidth issue.
Well, that's what they thought, but it seems like I have enough bandwidth, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, okay. So this is a very common issue. I have a lot of bandwidth. What's the problem? It's not. You don't have what you think you have. So the bandwidth that matters here is your Wi-Fi speed. And this varies wildly depending on where your access point is. It may be that the Blu-ray player is just positioned just a little bit better than the TV receiver. It may be the TV receiver, the antenna for the DLNA is inside the TV. I'm sure it is. And is...
No, well, they give you a Wi-Fi adapter.
Oh, good. All right. So move that around. Move your...
I did. And I get 5 bars.
Well,
and that's what the TV shows. So Panasonic sent the guy out here. They changed the circuit board. They changed the little Wi-Fi adapter, and the same thing happens.
So one way to try this would be to plug in the Ethernet from your router. Have you tried that, plugging in the hard wire?
Yeah, we moved the router next to the TV.
And then plug in the hard wire. Does the same thing happen?
Exact same thing happens.
Okay, good. That's a way of determining. Okay, so now we know it's not the bandwidth because you're getting direct input into the thing. Yeah,
so Panasonic, at this point, they said they don't know what it is. So they called me the other day and they said,
I don't know either because it's not the Wi-Fi because you tried Ethernet and you're having the same issue.
We tried 2 different routers, too, just to be sure it wasn't my
well,
router.
they tried everything, didn't they? That's exactly what I would suggest.
They did. They, like I say, they changed the circuit board that everything.
Now, the same files play fine on your Blu-ray through the DLNA on the Blu-ray?
I have hundreds of these files. They play fine on absolutely everything I have, except they won't play through the Panasonic TV.
Boy, and I'm sure that the techs, when they came out, they updated the firmware on the TV and all of that stuff.
Yeah, they did. We downloaded, and actually I did that myself, but they double-checked it anyway. So, Panasonic says they just don't know.
Yeah. And you call me like I might. I'm on
it. As far as I'm concerned.
Kilroy's suggesting, it is an interesting thought, to put those same files on, one or two of them on a USB key and play them directly through the USB key on the TV. And if you have the same problem, then it has nothing to do with the network. It has to do with the TV and those files.
Yeah, what they had me do, Leo, is they had me put those files on an SD card.
Right.
And I put that into
Same
the TV.
thing happened?
Nope, they work perfectly.
Okay, well, good. So now we've shown that the TV has the capability, that the files aren't too big, and that the codecs and so forth aren't the problem. It's something to do with the network. And it's not the Wi-Fi because we tried plugging it in directly. This is the process. Whenever there's a problem like this, the process of troubleshooting is exactly this: is eliminating possibilities to narrow it down. It's just like Sherlock Holmes. When he was solving a mystery, he'd say, "Watson, we eliminate all the possibilities, and whatever remains, however improbable, is the cause."
Right.
So that's what we're doing here, and so we've eliminated. So if we try to do this logically, we know the TV can play the file because it plays it directly from an SD card. We know that it isn't Wi-Fi because when you Ethernet it, it's the same problem. So it's something going on, oddly enough, and I'm not really sure what it would be. And it wasn't the router either because they tried different routers.
Yeah, I tried different routers, yeah.
So this is a great mystery because I think, in my mind, you've eliminated all the obvious problem areas.
Over a 3.5-hour period.
I'm impressed that they did all this, actually. That's really going the extra mile on this.
Yeah, they did. It was over a week's period. They put me to the 2nd level of support, and the guy was really good. He'd call me back. We tried all kinds of things.
Well, obviously, he got as intrigued as I am baffled by this problem, thinking, and you know, this is the thing about technology. It is ultimately deterministic. There is no voodoo. There's no magic involved. It's always cause effect, but it's complex. So finding the exact cause that produces this effect can be difficult. But if given enough time, enough insight, and enough tests, you should be able to narrow it down to something. Don't know what it is, though.
I'm just wondering if maybe, you know, this is a brand new TV and they've had problems with DLNA, if there somehow isn't some manufacturing defect in the DLNA.
It could be. It could be. It's interesting the Blu-ray doesn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, and that's over.
Yeah, it sounds like something in the implementation that Panasonic chose, and I just don't know. It's interesting they spend so much time with you, because if they knew of a problem, they would have probably blown you off. It sounds like you're not. It's just kind of an unusual situation.
Well, first they tried to tell me it was a bandwidth issue.
Well, that's what I would have said, but we narrowed it down. We eliminated it.
Yeah, and I told them we already eliminated that with your second level of support.
Yeah. So now you got me. I'm looking at the chat room because they're smart people and maybe they could think of something, and they're as baffled as I am.
I've Googled it and haven't come up with anything.
I think it's maybe a problem with this particular TV. I don't know. Sorry. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Of course, this very obscure music is the theme from Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes. I got it, Kyle. Kyle Benham.
You're good, Leo.
At the controls. Is Gina Salvati on the phones today? Is it Gina?
Jason King.
Oh, Jason. Hey, Jason. Good to see you. Jason King on the phones today. And I am, yes, the tech guy, Leo Laporte. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. If you have a question, a comment, a suggestion, an intractable problem to which there is no solution, I'm the one you call. And then I will suffer with you, but I won't be able to help you. Chris in Riverside, California. Hi, Chris. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo, can you hear me? I'm on a cell phone.
I hear you great. You sound very good.
Oh, that's cool. I'm in a parking lot. I went as far away from any technical devices as I possibly could.
Thank you. It sounds great.
Oh, this is so cool. I've never done this before. Okay, I'll get right to my question. Okay, I have a LCD TV, and I play my Xbox on it.
Okay.
And I'm running it through with an HDMI cable for the video and the audio.
Good. That's the best quality you can get. Straight digital.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
But every once in a while, you know, I'll be playing my games online, doing my thing, and then all of a sudden, the audio will cut out. And the video's fine. Like, there's no, like, craziness or anything, but just the audio cuts out. And, like, I fix it by turning off the TV and turning it on again, and I wondered, you know, why does it do that? Because I have another buddy that just bought a brand new HD TV, and he copied me into the same thing, and it happened to him too.
It's not a Panasonic, is it? No, I'm just teasing. Yeah, it's so you understand what's going on, and when you use HDMI, it's a data signal, pure data signal of both audio and video going into the TV, which then decodes the data and plays it. And I'm not sure why that happens. It shouldn't happen, but I suspect that what's happening is that there's some sort of sync issue. You know, it's dropping, it's getting out of touch with the audio, and then it can't go on. You might try a better cable. I mean, and this I want to underscore, the $120, $150, $400 HDMI cables aren't any better than the $5 ones. You just might have a bad cable. But you can go online and get don't spend a lot of money. I'm not saying you need a fancy cable. Just maybe that cable has a problem. How long is the cable?
I'm not sure. I think it's
Keep it as short as you can. You don't want it to go more than 6 feet if you can help it.
Okay.
That can be a problem too.
Yeah, I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's been sitting for a while.
Yeah, it could just be the cable's a little worn, and digital either works or it doesn't. It doesn't degrade like analog used to. So used to be you'd get a little hissy or the signal would go bad when you lost signal, but you could still see it and hear it. But with digital, it works and then it stops because it just can't decode it. So monoprice.com, they're $5. Get a new HDMI cable. It wouldn't hurt to do that. Get a short one, as short as you can between the the two things. The other thing, of course, and I presume you're doing this, you're upgrading your firmware on the was it Xbox you said?
Yeah, the Xbox.
Make sure you have the latest firmware.
Yeah.
But I think it's most likely a cable problem, but you know, it's one of those things that might be hard to diagnose. It's interesting it happens to your friend, too.
See, I would have thought that too, but with my friend, he just went and bought a brand new one, a brand new TV, brand new HDMI cable, and it's happened to him too. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's just maybe sending too much data down the line, and you know, the TV's getting confused. Kilroy in our chat room says, make sure the TV's in game mode. I don't know if that would make any difference. But maybe it does. Maybe it does. If your TV has updated firmware, that might also be a good thing to do. Who would have thought that we would have to update our TVs? But now these TVs, these high-def TVs, these good quality TVs, these are computers. And there are bugs. Your TV can have bugs. I think we've just heard in 2 successive calls about bugs. And so just like your computer, you might want to update the software, believe it or not, on your TV. And that might fix the problem, too. Frank in San Diego, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Leo. This is Frank in San Diego, but I feel a little bit like Nigel Bruce.
Why is that?
To your role as Basil Rathbone as Sherlock.
Dr. Watson, come here. I need you. Yeah, that Nigel Bruce was the best Watson. He was a very good fumpferer.
Sherlock movies.
I loved Nigel Bruce, but that's the old ones with the.
Anyway, my question.
But wait a minute. Who was Sherlock Holmes to Nigel Bruce?
Sherlock Holmes, Basil Rathbone.
Basil Rathbone. Thank you. Now I feel better.
Yeah.
All right, Frank. What can I do for you?
I have a track phone, and the hardware of it is a Motorola W370.
Okay.
And very shortly, I'm going to be going to Germany for about a month. And my question focuses around trying to get this track phone, this Motorola hardware, to function in Europe if possible. Will it work with an appropriate SIM card? And how do I get the proper SIM card? And what, if anything, what else do I need to do here, or should I do everything from over there?
Comes down to 3 different things. First of all, it has to be GSM, which your track phone is. It uses a SIM card. That means it's GSM. So that's step 1.
That came back as GSM.
Yeah. It also has to support the frequencies that are used in Europe. They're not the same. So you should look on the box or on the website and see if that particular model is what they call world band. It has to have the bands that are supported in Europe as well as in the U.S. And then here's the stickler. It should say somewhere, you might be able to find it in the phone settings or on the website. But the real sticker, and this is, I think, going to stop you, is it has to be unlocked. You cannot put another phone company's SIM card in your locked phone. By locked, it would mean that phone was set in such a way that it would only work with TracFone.
I believe that's the situation.
Yeah, and so you can go take it to a dealer and say, "Can you unlock this?" You probably can unlock it. It is not illegal to unlock your phone. The Librarian of Congress ruled that after you have owned that phone for, a couple of years, you can unlock it, but it will not work with a SIM card from another carrier until it's unlocked.
Yeah. Where do I get that from? I
would look for an independent dealer who works for a lot of companies. Often they'll unlock it for you. The other option is to buy a cheap Go phone in Europe and just use that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Now this is a song. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the phone number. We're talking about Sherlock Holmes, of all things, in the chat room. If you have not been in our chat room, it is a jolly bunch of people that get off track very easily, but then so do I. It's easy to join the chat room. All you have to do is go to our website, techguylabs.com. There's a link there to the live video stream we do of this show and all the other shows I do. To the chat room, 920 people in there, so it's scrolling by pretty quickly. But it's great fun, and it's family friendly because we have a dozen moderators in there who keep an eye on things. In fact, some new ones, it looks like. Brad and Leggett, don't know them. Warpoli, TechZen, Nightflyer, TTK, Mick, Life's a Zoo, Kevin H., Inferno 10, Houdini 7, Hip, Darth Emma, CWBP, and, of course, our chief moderator, Dan. They're all in there. And it is a great time. So if you want to talk about Sherlock Holmes or technology, go to techguylabs.com. You'll find the link to the chat room, the live video, live audio, and, by the way, all 787 previous shows, including show notes and audio, for your delectation. If you would prefer to play the home version of our game, 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number, and that's the number Frank called from... Oh, no, I talked to Frank. So next is David from Lafayette, Indiana. Hi, David. David, welcome. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Can you hear me?
I hear you great, David.
Wow, I can't believe I'm talking to you.
It's amazing, isn't it? How old are you, David?
9.
9 years old. That's great. And are you a budding geek?
Well, I'm almost a geek already. My dad is an IT local, so...
So, of course, you have to be.
Yeah.
That's great. That's
I've got
great.
to,
Well, I'm very pleased to meet you, David. What can I do to help you?
Well, I'm interested in doing some stuff on YouTube. I have a YouTube account.
Now, do you have a you have a YouTube account? Have you posted any videos yet?
Yeah, but I haven't really found my style yet. But one thing I'm very interested is VFX, video effects.
So you want to be... Now, this is a great thing to start at your age, because by the time you're in the workforce 10 years from now or 15 years from now, you'll be a wizard, won't you? You'll know all the ins and outs of video effects. So, yeah, if this is something you love, and I think sounds like your dad's encouraging you, I think you should absolutely play with this.
Yeah.
Do you have... first of all, you have a camera, I presume, right?
Well, I have cameras I can use.
Okay,
so,
yeah. And then what kind of computer do you have, David? Is it a Mac or is it a PC?
We have an old HP laptop. You know?
Yeah, I'm here.
No?
I'm just...
Yeah.
I'm just grimacing. So the problem with video and an old computer is that old computers often don't have enough, especially a laptop, enough horsepower to do video effects. That takes a lot of horsepower. So what I want you to do, David, is save your pennies, encourage Dad to help out, and eventually you're going to want to get a more modern computer that has enough power to do the stuff that you want to do. I'm going to point you in a couple of interesting directions. My friend Alex Lindsay has a club called Pixel Core, PIXELCORPS.com. And it is a place where you can learn. He calls it a craftsman's guild from the old medieval days, where in the medieval days, if you wanted to become a printer or you wanted to become a blacksmith, you would apprentice to a master who would teach you, and eventually you would become a journeyman and you would join the guild of craftsmen. He wants to create a modern-day guild for digital craftsmen, and he is teaching people how to become special effects wizards. In fact, he worked at Lucasfilm. He did Star Wars. So he's a special effects master. You should go to pixelcore.com and look, and maybe you'd want to even join Pixelcore, because they do assignments, they do videos, they teach you. But there are a lot of other places you can go to learn that kind of thing. But I think the good news, David, is that information is really out there. And I think what you're going to find, though, is pretty quickly that you want to get a little bit faster computer, and you might even have to start spending money on software. But to tell your dad that this is his retirement plan, that if he gets you started now, you'll become the next Bill Gates, and in 15 years, Dad could just retire and live off your money.
Yeah, that's what I'm really...
You know what my son says? My son says, be nice to me. I have to pick your nursing home. You tell him that, okay? Say, Dad, be nice to me. I have to pick your nursing home. New registration of Pixel Core is closed. Is that true? Well, I'll tell you what, David, send me an email, leo@leoville.com, and I'll get you in. We'll get you a special 9-year-old discount, because I know Alex would love to get you started. And he has kids himself, and you are not too young to start learning this. You are not too young to start learning this. This is a great opportunity to become an expert at this kind of thing. So send me an email, David, leo@leoville.com. I'll forward it along to Alex, and we'll get you involved. There are other places you can go. Depends on what kind of special effects you want to learn or video effects you want to learn. My suggestion is eventually for your next computer, get a Mac. They have a program that's $50 called Motion. That's really amazing. Alex's company, DV Garage, also makes some very interesting special effects software. I mean, this guy is a special effects whiz, and he loves teaching special effects. So the same guy that does Pixel Core, if you go to dvgarage.com, in fact, he's giving away now his Conduit 3D program. It's in beta for Final Cut Pro 10 and Motion 5. This software has gotten so much cheaper, but you do need a modern computer, and you probably want to use a Mac for this. So get Dad to pony up. Jim is in Front Royal, Virginia?
Yes, sir.
Front Royal, Virginia. Hey, Jim, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. Good to talk to you.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you. I just had a question for you. I know you get a fair amount of camcorder questions, but I'm in the market for a new digital HD camcorder, and I was hoping you could maybe give me some advice.
Sure.
I've been looking a little bit and trying to look at some of the reviews and whatnot online, and I was looking at the Canon Vixia HF M400.
We just bought, I'll give you a hint, we just bought 30 Vixias. We bought the slightly higher-end GFH 10s because Canon makes excellent camcorders for the money, and that's what we're going to use in the new studio as our cameras. These are consumer-grade camcorders, high-def camcorders. They look fantastic. But hold on, because I don't know if camcorders have much future, believe it or not. So let me ask you what you want to do with this, Jim.
Well, I want to be able to take a variety of video. I'd like to have something where my wife and I are getting ready to take a motorcycle trip, a 3-day motorcycle trip.
Oh, fun.
And I've got a camera mount for my motorcycle, and I'd like to be able to mount it on the bike and get
neat.
Video of us going down the road.
So for that, you might want something like the GoCam, the GoPro, because that's designed exactly for that kind of thing, and they're very much less expensive, but they're designed to strap onto helmets, handlebars, and they have built-in memory. They have recording capability. They do have HD. If you go to GoPro, GoPro.com, they have some amazing videos on there. But that's a specialty camera. That's a purpose-built camera. It's a small camera designed for what you just described. I personally think that it's silly to buy a camcorder nowadays because your digital still camera has such great video capabilities. You might be better off getting a great still camera, a Canon S95, for instance, that shoots high-def video. That way you've got in your pocket a small device that does everything. Okay. A camcorder, standalone camcorder, I think is obsolete. I think that, except for special purposes like a television studio, which is why we're buying camcorders. But I think for most people nowadays, they should just get a good digital still camera and use that for video. Now, you might, if you want to make a great video mounted on the handlebars of your motorcycle, you absolutely should look at these GoPros, and they're not expensive. They're around $100. Okay. That would be exactly what you'd want for this purpose. You're not going to mount your digital still camera. But what I find is often people with camcorders shoot too much video anyway. The digital still camera kind of encourages you to shoot 10, 15, 20 seconds at a time. Get little snippets of stuff.
Right.
And in fact, what I do, and I think this really works great, is I think of the digital still camera as taking stills and video for a video photo album. I'll talk about how you would do that when we come back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Well, a good day to you. Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Hour number 3 of the Tech Guy Show. Last week in the Tech Guy Labs, we're moving down the street to the new Brick House Studios on the 24th, 1 week from today. Yikes. It's going to be a beautiful new studio. I can't wait to show you around. If you want to call the show today, 8888 Ask Leo is my number, 888-827-5536. Our website has that number, plus a link to the chat, a link to the video, a link to the audio, a link to all our previous 787 shows. It's all at techguylabs.com. And thanks to James DeRuvo for writing down all the things I say and putting them on the website so you can find the links and everything. techguylabs.com. Somebody's saying in the chat room, what do you bet Leo sleeps in the new studio on the first night? I might. You know, we got, I'm really excited. We got 2 giant beanbag chairs. They're the biggest beanbags I've ever seen in my life. They're from a company called Sumo. Let me see if I can find them on the web. It's probably if you Google Sumo beanbags, you'll find them. But they're sumolounge.com. They're ginormous. 2 people could sleep on them. And they're the most comfortable things. I sat on one, and it's just the most comfortable thing I've ever experienced. It's so comfy. So we have 2 of those in there. I don't know what model is. It's just the giant one. So maybe I will spend the night in there. I don't know. They're pretty nice. Is it the Sumo Sultan that we got? The Sumo Gigantor? Do you know, John, which Sumos we got in there? We have ginormous beanbags. If you come to see us, we do have an open studio policy. You can email my sister, Eva, EVA, at twit.tv, and let her know you're coming. That way we make sure that we have room for you. But if you do come and you want to see the show, yeah, I think it's a Gigantor we have. That looks about right. 2 of them. You can sit in the beanbag. We also have 12 of these exercise balls. I sit on one of these stability balls during the show. So we got 12 more. So you can be just like me. You can sit on a ball. Or we have chairs for those conservatives amongst you. But I think we're sold out for the first week. But we will always have an open studio. People are welcome to come by. I want to make a special invitation to ham operators to come by. Because, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I took the Technician Element 2 exam on Friday, passed, so I'm now officially a ham. And we're going to have ICOM is going to build a beautiful ham setup for us in there. And the local ham club, the Redwood DXers, are going to come down and put up a dipole antennas. I don't know, all sorts of stuff on the roof. So we're going to have a great ham operation there. So if you're a ham, please, especially, come by. We'll have little QSL cards for you. You can come visit the new Brick House Studios and broadcast from there and everything. We're also getting, I'm very excited, an old AM, like a 1940s Collins AM transmitter and console. We're going to build a little phony AM radio station, like the kind I started out with 35 years ago. We can't broadcast. We don't have a license. I guess we could do like micro transmission, but we won't do that. But we'll have a cute little studio in there. That should be a lot of fun too. It's our tribute to Radio Corner in the new Brick House studio. Tony, Tampa, Florida. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Welcome, Tony. What can I do for you today?
Leo, I'm a little embarrassed that I got to call you because I should probably be in your position by now.
You should be the tech guy. Tampa's tech guy, Tony.
I got stupid. I worked for Honeywell back around '74, and
I have to say, Tony, things have changed slightly since then.
Yeah. Well, I worked in assembly, and it was I worked on the Honeywell Bull. And if you ever look at, you might want to Google it up. It was supposed to be so compact. It was about the size of a dishwasher.
Oh, my goodness.
Got rid of all the quad machines and all that on 20-inch discs. And then along came Steve Jobs, and we were all out of jobs.
Yeah. The mini, the micro, the mainframe, and they all got replaced by the PC. I remember the Bull. I remember the wiring inside there. Did you do the wiring?
Nah, no. I soldered boards.
Those things, I tell you, they were complex.
Oh yeah, but it was a lot of fun.
Oh, I bet it was. I bet it was.
Well, I became, and so I ended up going into radio and found out that it's not as much fun being an engineer as it is being on the air and having all the girls. I was only 18, 19 years old. So I got away from computers, and that's why I'm embarrassed that I'm.
There was your mistake. Little did you know, Tony, that sometime down the road, computers would be the way to meet chicks.
Right.
No.
Well, let me.
No, you go to a users group and it's 99% men. In fact, that's one of the complaints on this new Google Plus social network. It's almost all men on there.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Well, I don't care for the social networks very much because I was never one for typing,
Yeah. You're a true geek.
I was. Well, anyway, what my problem is this morning I woke up and I didn't even read the message that was on my computer because it had happened so many times that it would just reboot in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And I usually keep it on hibernate. Well, this morning when I got up, I didn't read the message. I just said, well, let me just go ahead and reboot. And I did, and it just kept on rebooting and rebooting and rebooting. And I have no idea.
Well, it's almost certain that your hard drive is starting to fall apart. Hard drives are almost always the first thing to go because, as you know, moving parts wear out faster than solid-state circuitry.
Right.
In fact, usually if a solid-state circuit survives, the first few months, the infant mortality stage, they'll go forever. But the moving parts, they wear out. And hard drives, they if they don't die in the first few months, they'll do all right for the first 2 years, and then they die at a fairly consistent 8 to 10% every year from then on. And dying on a hard drive could be a variety of things. And in fact, you hit the nail on the head, Tony. You should have paid attention to those warnings because, in effect, the hard drive was saying to you, I'm struggling here. I'm struggling. But it's not too late. Now, first of all, let me ask you the hard question. Do you have a backup?
No.
Oh, Tony.
I got the trial of here's your sponsor's plug. I got the trial of Carbonite.
Yes.
And it worked pretty good.
Yes.
And I said, okay, well, when I get a chance, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to buy it.
Oh, when I get a chance. Famous last words.
And I never did.
When I get a chance, I'll back up. When I get a chance. Oh. You have my deepest sympathies. Now, all is not lost, by the way. Is there anything on there that's really vital?
Well, I got pictures and stuff.
Yeah,
on
all right,
there.
all right. Do not fret, because what normally happens here is that the reason your system's rebooting is that part of Windows itself has become corrupted, but that doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your data. The hard drive is a ginormous thing with lots of bits on it, and a couple of bad bits in the operating system will cause this symptom. Doesn't mean that all your pictures are lost, not at all. But what we need to do is we need to recover this disk, and so this is the trick.
Okay.
Do you have another computer, or is this the only one?
I have a laptop.
Yeah, what you really want is another tower, because what you want to do is take this disk and put it in as the second drive on a working tower, right? So you boot up into Windows, and then from Windows, look at this disk and see if you can read the data. Step one, you might even just be able to see the disk. It may just be that it can't boot, but everything else is just sitting there fine. And if that's the case, Tony, then you just copy that data right off and you're good to go. That's why you're probably either going to find a friend with another computer or bring it to a shop and say, dudes, treat my data carefully. It's not expensive to there are two different kinds of hard drive failures. There's a physical failure. That can be expensive. But then there's a soft failure, which is exactly what this sounds like, which is that, sectors got old and worn and weren't able to be read properly. And so I suspect that's what's wrong. If you had another computer, you could put it in, you could see if you could read the drive. If you couldn't, you could use a program I highly recommend for situations like this called SpinRite from grc.com. You'd run it on that drive off another system. If you can get SpinRite, you can actually boot to a SpinRite disk and do this, and usually you'll get that data back. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Yo, come on, move this. Shake that body. Shake that body. People, don't you know it's about time.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the number. If you have a question, a comment, a suggestion, we're going to go to England and say hi to Cal, calling via Skype. Hi, Cal.
Hi. I recently bought a Asus EPAD transformer, and I want to try and sync my music from my MacBook Pro.
Okay.
But I don't know how to do that.
So tell me what that first thing was again.
Sorry, the Asus EPAD transformer.
Okay. Is that running Windows or Android?
That's Android.
Android. Well, the easiest way to do this is if you could get an invitation to the Google Music beta, you would just run it on your Mac. It would upload all your songs to Google Music, and then you'd run the Android Google Music client. You wouldn't have to put any music on the Asus. It would just be able to play it streaming from Google. I guess you could do that with Amazon Cloud as well. But not available in the UK. Thank you. You're right. Oh, shoot. It's actually in closed beta anyway, so it's hard to get. Let's see. All right, here's what I'm going to suggest you do. There's a program called TWiT. You ever hear of that?
I've tried that.
Yeah.
I've tried it.
Didn't work?
It doesn't work. I think it's something to do with Android 3.0 onwards uses media transfer protocol.
Really? So when you connect the Asus to your Mac, can it go into USB drive mode?
No. Android 3.0 onwards doesn't have USB mode.
That's interesting and a real problem. That's terrible.
Yeah.
Because, of course, with an Android phone, the easiest way to get music on the Android phone is just plug it in via USB to the computer, Mac or PC, and mount the SD card on it. And now, does that Asus have an SD card slot?
Yeah.
So that's probably what you're going to have to do is get an SD card for it, put it in the Mac, copy the files onto it, and then put it in the Android machine.
Okay. With TWiT, I know it can recognize iTunes playlists. Would there be a way to copy those as well onto the SD card?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. That's what TWiT does so well. TWiT is essentially an iTunes replacement that will allow you to synchronize with Android and other devices. I love TWiT. So, does TWiT just not work with 3.0?
It just does not recognize it. I've tried.
Have you tried their AirSync?
Yeah. It just doesn't pick up the device. I've tried typing in the IP address. It just doesn't recognize it.
That's so weird. There must be something they did with Honeycomb. Because I've used AirSync also. This is something that the new iPhone iOS 5 should have. Is Wi-Fi syncing. It's just fantastic. So I come into the house, I have AirSync running on my Android phone. I don't even have to connect it. It sees my Mac, and it starts synchronizing any new songs, copies old songs or songs from the phone over to the Mac. It's very handy. But that doesn't work either.
Yeah.
Holy cow! It's funny because it says it's compatible with all. I have a 3.1 Samsung Galaxy Tab, and I'm pretty sure it works with that. Yeah, it says it does. So I wonder if there's something odd going on with the Asus. So this is a known problem that Honeycomb just doesn't work?
As far as I know, it doesn't work through USB, but it should work through.
It should work, yeah. Should work. The AirPlay, or rather, what is it called? AirSync. That's what it is. Should work. You can always email yourself the music. That's what Clockwork is saying. How many songs is that there, Cal?
It's a couple of hundred.
Oh, that's not too bad. Email 5 at a time. You probably get it done quick. Now, I think there's something else going on because you should be able to at least do Wi-Fi syncing with TWiT. I'll tell you what. I will go home and try this on my Galaxy Tab. See, I didn't put any music on the Galaxy Tab because I was using Google Music, and that's a really nice feature. But of course, it's only good if you can get your Galaxy Tab online. If you can't get Galaxy Tab online, it's not going to work. You might want to look at Dropbox. Somebody's suggesting that's a good point. Web 3900. There's a Dropbox client for Android. Put Dropbox on your Mac. It's free for up to 5 gigabytes. Put Dropbox on your Android. You should be able to get it that way. Mel493 says TuneSync works over Wi-Fi directly with iTunes. Audio Galaxy. Winamp. So I'll tell you what, our chat room's coming up with a lot of solutions for you, Cal. You might want to go in there and say hi and say, okay, what do you think? And we will put as many of these as we can capture into our show notes at techguylabs.com. Great to know you're listening in the UK. Thanks for the call. Noel in Longmont, Colorado, you're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Noel.
Hey, Noel. It's Noel. How are you?
It's a lady. Hello, Noel.
I was hacked yesterday in my personal email account, and it's a windowslive.com.
Oh, I'm so sorry. They've added now. It's so interesting. This must happen so much. Microsoft now added a button when you get an email from a friend whose account's been hacked that says, my friend's account has been hacked, and it sends it off to Microsoft, and Microsoft then contacts you. I mean, this is how often this is happening. I'm so sorry, Noel.
Oh, well, I needed to know what the security measures were that I should be taking, and how to shut that account down because I can't.
If you could change the password, you can't access it.
No. I can't access it at all.
Yeah, you need to contact Microsoft because only they can shut it down at this point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, contact them. They will shut it down for you, or they'll change the password for you, and you could recover it again. So here's the key. Generally speaking, the way these accounts get hacked are either because you use a password that's easily guessed, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm sure you didn't do that.
No.
Your password was 8 or more characters, random.
My password had a fairly strong.
You know that you don't use dictionary words. You don't. Yeah. The best password is completely random. Of course, it's hard to remember. So sometimes I recommend people use techniques to create memorable passwords that can't be easily guessed. For instance, if you think of a song lyric that you're a big fan of, and you take the first letter of each word of the first 10 words in the song, and then add your zip code, that's a very strong password, easy to recreate, but not easy to guess. Things like that. There are ways to make good passwords. But, okay, we're going to assume you did that. The other way that people often get into these email accounts is through secret questions. So, yeah, the password recovery system can also cause problems. So, yeah. So what they do is the bad guy goes to your account and says, I forgot my password. And then the account says, okay, well, what's your mother's maiden name? Or what, and so what I do is I lie in the secret questions. In other words, don't use your mother's maiden name. Use a completely random noun. You have to remember that or write it down on somewhere or something. But if you do that, then there's very little likelihood that they'll be able to use that. The problem is if you use a real answer to the secret questions, sometimes that information they can figure out.
They can figure it out. Yeah. Well, that's extremely helpful information.
I'm sorry that happened to you. Yeah, you do need to contact Microsoft now to reclaim it.
Then I will do that because
shut it down because they're going to use your email to attack your friends.
Well, that was the second part of my question, whether these people, because it took all of my address book, so I'm wondering whether the people that are in my address book are going to be compromised.
They aren't going to be compromised, but they're going to attempt to compromise them. So they'll send emails that look like they come from you that could be dangerous. So you might want to email your friends saying, don't use this address. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. 8888. Ask Leo's the phone number, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. Outside the U.S., Skype out works just great. Jeff in Granada Hills, you're next. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Leo, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
All right. You've probably heard this before, but help.
Well, that's what I'm here for. In fact, I used to do a show called Call for Help. Help!
My wonderful family got me an Acer A500 tablet for Father's Day.
That is a nice gift.
And it's been working great, connected to the Wi-Fi, and I've been happy and playing with it and having a great time.
Good.
And then 2 days ago, it says unable to obtain, or it says no internet connection.
Eesh.
And so I go to the Wi-Fi settings, and it shows me that I do have my Linksys router. It sees it. It has a good signal. I say connect, and it says scanning on one portion of the screen under wireless and networks. Under Wi-Fi networks, it says disabled. And so I say connect.
Right.
And it says scanning, remembering.
I would delete that entry in the network connections and start over.
How do I do that?
Just right-click on it, or you can actually click on it once and press the delete key. It's just a file. And start over. Pretend you never were online with it. Do you have, this is often the case on Windows machines, sometimes you have two different ways to access your Wi-Fi. Windows has its own built-in version, and then the card, the manufacturer of the card, Intel or IBM or whoever made the card, will have its own software on there. Do you notice that you have a choice?
Well, this is on the tablet itself.
It's not. Is it Android or Windows?
It's an Android tablet.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's an Android tablet. I was giving you Windows instructions. Forget that.
I haven't seen that.
Forget that. So in Android, you can forget a connection, though. You go in the wireless connections.
Okay, so yeah, it says connect, forget, or cancel. So
yeah, so forget it. Forget about it. And start over. Just see if that works. Do you have any other wireless devices?
Yes. That's what my concern was. Maybe the router went bad, but I've got a...
Are the other wireless devices working?
Yeah, I got a Wii console and I connected that and I looked and I was able to go to Netflix and so.
Good. All right. So we know the router's working. We know your internet connection's good. This is that same troubleshooting process I was talking about earlier, where you eliminate. In fact, you always want to eliminate the easy things, the things you could check easily. Is the internet connection working? The wireless working? Yes. So we can eliminate all of that. So it's the tablet. Something's going on with Android.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, do I have to hit that reset button and try to back up my apps before I do so, or?
I would not do that because you're gonna. The good news about Android is it's not too bad to get back. Google remembers all your stuff. You just log into your Google account and it kind of repopulates it. But
I went to the settings and it does show that I was backing up to my Google account.
Yeah. So that's the good news is it's not such a big deal if you have to start over. But I don't think you should have to start over. First of all, check and see if there's any updates. What version of the operating system is on that end?
It's a 3.1.
3.1. Okay, that's the latest.
Yeah, I updated it just very recently.
And I presume that you have shut it down and turned it back on again, right?
Yes, I've tried.
Even on a tablet, rebooting is always a good thing. I would say that. Well, go ahead and do it. You forgot it. Let's see if you can get on it again.
Oh, I did. I hit forget, and it didn't forget it.
It didn't forget it.
It seems to remember because now it just keeps saying links is disabled. Let me see.
You really want to forget it.
Yeah, go away.
You really, really want to forget it.
Well, it doesn't want to forget it for me. Maybe I have to reboot after I hit forget.
Yeah, because we know the router's working because you can use other devices to get online. You know your internet's working, so it's not that. It's definitely the tablet. And it sounds like something strange is going on with the tablet. What you might want to do is turn it off all the way, shut it way down. If you press and hold the on-off button, it'll give you that shut down option in there. Turn it all the way off.
Shut off, and I say yes.
And then the first thing you do when you turn it on again is go in there and try to forget.
Okay.
It seems like there's something going on with the tablet. So if you have to, yes, you can always do the restore. You may have to reinstall apps. There are a couple of really good ways to kind of remember your apps. I would try App Brain. So this is a free download from the Android market. Download App Brain, and then sync. And what it'll do is it'll remember on the App Brain website what all your apps are. And if Google doesn't restore your apps, sometimes Google does and sometimes it doesn't. I'm not sure what the rules are. I've had a phone where I've logged into my Google account and boom, an hour later, 83 apps are reinstalled. And then I frequently have a situation where it doesn't reinstall the apps at all. If you use App Brain, at least you'll have a record of all your apps, and you can tell App Brain from the website, now reinstall all of those apps on the phone or the tablet.
Okay. Well, fortunately, I don't have a lot of apps on it right now, so
You might want if this shutting it all the way down, forgetting and restarting doesn't work, restore the thing.
Okay. And I heard you telling somebody about AirSync. Is that something I can use on this also too?
Yeah, it's great. So go to TWiT in the Android marketplace. You'll see the TWiT program, which you run on your computer, and then you'll see AirSync, which you run on your Android phone or your tablet, and you'll have to set it up with your computer. It'll ask for a code to pair the phone or the tablet to your computer, and then whenever you get within Wi-Fi range, if you can ever get it working on your Acer again, you'll be syncing.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, to clarify, it's not picking up the stuff on my Windows machine. I don't know if I need to have Clarify running on that too, but I will try.
But you're not able to get on the net, or you are able to get on the net
on the
Android.
No,
it's just not getting online at all. It's not, and your Linksys router is working for other devices.
The Linksys router is working for other devices.
Yeah.
The tablet recognizes it. It says I have a strong signal, but it just keeps saying...
It says disabled. Yeah, that's weird. It sounds like something went wrong, and probably you will have to restore.
Yeah. Well...
Not a big deal.
Another one of the projects I'll work on then.
Not a big deal. Anybody who has Android does a lot of that.
Oh,
your next step will be to root it and put a new ROM on the thing. It's so much fun to play with.
Never know. What's your thought on the Acer? I mean, I already have.
I love them. I love them. I think Android tablets are great. They're about as close as you can get to an iPad. If people ask me, I say get an iPad because that's where all the software is and so forth. But I think they've come very close. They've really made some nice stuff.
Well, in all the ads today, everybody's breaking price on the Acer. It's $399 instead of $449.
Well, the truth is they're not selling very well. People, when they go to the store, they might look at them, but they always end up getting an iPad.
Upgrade to the iPad.
Yeah.
Well, my wife told me she got this because of the USB port.
Right.
And
it's more capable. And Android, there's a lot more you can do with Android. It's more hackable. I'm a big Android fan. Now, I have an iPad, but I also have a Samsung Galaxy Tab. They're great. But when people ask me, I say get an iPad. But if you want to support open, if you want to support choice, if there are things like rooting it and putting other stuff on it that you want to do, Android's a very good choice. I'm a big fan of Android.
Yeah. When it was working, it was really fun. And
Yeah.
It's a cool device. So
what's your favorite app on there?
You know, right now I'm just kind of playing with a couple apps. I'm tracking my son's Boy Scout ranking, so that's been
That's fun.
my
Yeah.
so far.
What's missing kind of for Android tablets is applications that are designed specifically for the tablets. There are only a few hundred of those, but they work very nicely, and when they work, it's great. It's really nice to have all that real estate. I love my tablet for Sudoku puzzles. There's a great Sudoku app called Enjoy Sudoku, and it's just so much fun. And you can see how you're doing compared to other users and so forth.
Yeah, my wife likes the barcode scanner, so she can count prices, and it works very well.
Really good for comparison shopping. Scrabble just came out. Electronic Arts just released Scrabble for the tablet. That's a lot of fun on a tablet. There's a lot of stuff you can do. 8888. Ask Leo. That's the phone number. We'll take more of your calls in a moment. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Now, if you ask me, more technology shows should begin with Bert Kempfert swinging Safari. You're a wild man, Kyle Benham at the controls. Jason at the phones. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Last segment of the show today. Let's answer some calls. Rick in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hey, Rick, Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.
Yes. This is Rick Newhouse. Hello, Leo.
Hey, Rick. Welcome.
My call is because several weeks ago, many weeks ago now, I've tried to get on but couldn't. You had a caller who was trying to copy VHS tapes, if I remember right, more current media, and you suggested that he'd be better off to just sign up for a service like Netflix or something and watch the movies instead of taking time to make all those copies.
It's a lot of work. I mean, let's give you, I don't remember this particular caller. Of course, we get this call a lot. If it's your own home movies, obviously, you need to figure out how to do that. But I have a friend who, for instance, recorded every episode of Taxi, the classic sitcom. Now, that's nice, but does he really want to transfer them all to DVD? Why not just, I mean, come on, really. Let's just watch it. If it's something you can't get, that's another thing. But
I agree, and I'm a Netflix streamer, and I love it. But something I've found watching Netflix is Married with Children, for instance. They have removed the Frank Sinatra music.
Oh no, you're kidding!
And
they don't play Love and Marriage, Love and Marriage.
They play something that sounds a lot like it, but doesn't require any royalties.
Isn't that interesting? Now, that's probably not, in fact, I guarantee you, that's not Netflix. I bet you if you got the DVD of that TV show, it would have the same thing.
I agree. It's probably just the version that they're being
That's
furnished.
what they're given. That's right.
I'd let you know that he wouldn't be getting, in some cases, he wouldn't be getting the same thing.
Very good point. Now, I don't know if it's still, is it worth digitizing 150 Married with Children episodes so that you get Love and Marriage? I don't know.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Get to watch the show, but I don't know how deeply they've replaced things.
That's really interesting. Now, I don't think that that's very common, to be honest.
Well, I'd hope not. I Googled it to try to see if there were other people talking about it, and there are other people on the internet seeing that same thing. And
Chat room is telling me that, as an example, WKRP in Cincinnati. Now, that was, remember, a TV show about Top 40 radio in which they played a lot of Top 40 songs, and they had a real problem getting the licenses to those songs for the DVDs. So, in fact, they did have to do that with his songs. I do remember hearing about that. So I guess it is more common than one would think. It's a shame. You know, there's cases that are far worse than this. For instance, there's a classic, a wonderful civil rights documentary called Eyes on the Prize PBS made this some years ago. You will never see it again. Because when they licensed the footage, the archival footage of people like Martin Luther, it's particularly Martin Luther King, they licensed it for that one-time airing. And there are some rights holders, like the Martin Luther King estate, who are very aggressive. And that documentary, I don't think this is what Dr. King would have wanted, to be honest. I would think he would want that documentary to be shown in schools, to be shown on TV, every day on his birthday. Let's show that. But no, you won't see it again because the rights holders say, no, you can't. We want money. You can't play that I Have a Dream speech on PBS unless you give us some money or whatever it is. So I think that's a shame. I think that happens a lot. I don't think that's the spirit, probably, of Dr. King. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was my understanding of why that happened, and that's just really a shame. It's greed, and it's where I think the copyright laws in this country go a little too far. We call it the Mickey Mouse Copyright Protection Act because every time Mickey Mouse's copyright is about to expire, and Mickey Mouse was copyrighted in 1927. And the original copyright was, what was it, for 35 years? But every time it comes up for expiration, the Disney Corporation goes to Capitol Hill with a bag of money and says to members of Congress, can you extend that copyright a little longer? Because they don't want Mickey Mouse to go into public domain. And so as a result, nothing in the U.S. that was created after 1927 is available to the public domain. It's protected forever, all of it, whether somebody wants it or not. And this is the negative of this is, I don't care if you can't hear Love and Marriage and Married with Children. I do care if you can't see Eyes on the Prize. Brilliant civil rights documentary. That hurts us all. That's where copyright has gone too far. Well, thank you for the call, Rick. It's a good point. I guess if you have the perfect, pristine edition on your VHS tape and you want to take the time of transferring it, maybe that would be worthwhile. Ernie in Highland, California. Hi, Ernie. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
How you doing, Leo? I enjoy your show.
Thanks for listening. I appreciate it.
My wife and I each have 2 Droid X's, and I've discovered something lately that's really disturbing. I've called Verizon on it, and I've called Motorola on it, talked to their first levels of tech support on each, and they can't come up with a remedy. What it is, I have Yahoo application on there, and I discovered this by accident. If you go to menu and then go to emails and then scroll to the bottom, there is something called Manage Address History. And when you go there, you find emails of everybody that you've gotten an email from. Not only that.
Yeah, this is a Google thing.
It's a Google thing.
I think so. Yeah, Google does this as well. Outlook used to do this. There would be a setting that says, keep track of everybody you've ever... Now, usually it's sent mail to. Are you saying even if you just receive it?
It's not only that. If they have forwarded to 30 people, you get their addresses and spam addresses.
Yeah, and this is, I think, considered a convenience because, well, you must want that address. You got email from them. I think it only makes sense to save stuff that you've ever sent messages to. I can understand why you might want to do that. If it's saving all the addresses that you've ever received email from, that's ridiculous. You sure you didn't respond to that mail, right?
No, I'm positive. It's like I say, it's spam, and you can get rid of it. There's hundreds and hundreds. The only way you get rid of it is individually, one by one.
One by one.
Reading the application, starting it fresh, and it deletes it that way. You can't delete it.
So it's Yahoo that's doing this one?
Correct, only Yahoo.
Yeah, Google saves stuff that you email out to, but that's kind of doesn't make any sense that Yahoo would save even incoming mail.
Right. I'm not a novice on this, but I've gone to the Gmail settings, the Yahoo, and even Motorola thought they had the remedy, and they told me to uncheck something, and it didn't work. And of course, you can't get the same person back, so they just
so you can only delete it on the phone one by one.
One by one, and there's hundreds.
Well, one way to do this, perhaps, to make it easier, is are you backing up? Are you using Google Contacts for your contacts on your Android device?
Yes.
what you could do is go into your Google contacts and clean it up, and you could do that in a much quicker fashion just by checking multiple addresses and deleting them.
How about the spam that's on there? The spam that goes directly to your bulk mail.
It shouldn't be saving that. That's ridiculous, Ernie.
It saves that too.
I don't know what happened at Yahoo. Somebody went asleep at the switch there. That company has really lost its way, and it's a shame because at one time it was one of the, the great companies.
Right.
And they've really lost their way, and there's no reason why spam addresses should be preserved by Yahoo Mail, and then they fill up your contacts on your phone, which has a limited storage space. That's ridiculous.
Right. And
I don't know what the solution is, to be honest with you.
If it was personal, it wouldn't bother me that much. But when I see spam on there that I get 20 to 50 a day,
I'm with you.
Saving.
I think what you do is you go to the Google contacts, you clean it up there, and then what you do is you delete all your contacts on the phone and let it sync from Google Contacts. Be careful about how you do this, by the way, because you don't want to delete the contacts on the web. But you can clean it up faster on the web than you can on your phone.
And if anybody else has any other ideas, I'll look at your...
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat room. They agree with me on the contacts.google.com. And let's just stop using Yahoo. What do you say? I use Yahoo Mail, too. I didn't realize it was doing that. That's terrible.
Right, and if someone goes there and sees that, their eyes are going to bug out because there are just hundreds and hundreds.
All sorts of junk. Ugh.
Yes, junk.
That's terrible. So export the contacts so you have a good clean backup in case you mess things up.
Right.
And then you should be able to clean it up online.
We'll give it a try.
Hey, thanks for the call and the heads up, Ernie. I'm going to check mine now because I use Yahoo Mail. Yeah, I might have to kill my Yahoo Mail account.
Oh, I'm thinking about it.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Thank you again.
Great to talk to you. Thank you all for being here, too. What a great time. I love doing this show. Really appreciate it. The website is techguylabs.com if you want to know more. Links to all of our other stuff. And I'll be back next week with our last shows from the Tech Guy Labs. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Goodbye.